You got the Acolyte was the last straw. Look at the popularity of Star Wars, okay? Right now, Ubisoft is suffering from Star Wars Outlaws. They're on the edge of a cliff. They're about to get pushed over. If you're a Blizzard and you screw up at this point, Microsoft can step in and, it's okay, honey. We'll make everything okay. Don't worry. Ubisoft is just dead. Renegade Online. I did not, usually Wednesdays, we've got some good news stories. I wasn't expecting the world to blow up on me in the last 24 hours. So we talked about some of this at the beginning of the show. Of course, we had a video today. I had a video this morning on the Acolyte. Circling back to this, Star Wars is a mess, and believe it or not, this actually ties directly into what's happening right now with the collapse of Ubisoft. Ubisoft, a game maker that's based in France. They have made recently Star Wars Outlaws. They're also the makers of the Assassin's Creed series. Tugs was in here earlier, like I said, when she first came in. We had just kind of talked about this a little bit. So I'm sorry, I got stuck. I was in a game, save point. I lost track of time. She was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is one of the previous iterations. Assassin's Creed Shadows is about to come out, or was about to come out. In a few weeks. Yeah. And this has become a nightmare. And I'm going to tell y'all right now, chat, you listening to this? This is how insane this has gotten for me. But it's become like a drug. I've got an alarm clock on my phone set for 3 a.m. because that's when the Paris stock market exchange opens. And this is when the poop is going to hit the fan for Ubisoft. Now, what does this have to do with Star Wars? What does this have to do with the Acolyte? What does this have to do with everything we talked about before, right? What does this have to do with Mando Season 3 and blah, 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 and so on and so forth? Star Wars Outlaws, right? This launched right about a month ago. This is an Ubisoft game. And Star Wars Outlaws launched with fairly high numbers, but we also knew that Ubisoft had, in their own words, had launched the biggest marketing campaign ever that they had done for a video game. They spent a buttload of money flying out. You know all the Disney Star Wars shills guys out there on Twitter right now?
I do.
You see all the folks out there that are trashing Star Wars theory, and they've tried to take him down. And a lot of these same people got an all-expenses-paid trip out to the Valley or Northern California or whatever. They got flown out there on Ubisoft and Disney Star Wars Lucasfilm's dime.
Yep.
And they got wined and dined and put up in really nice resorts. They got early access to play the game. Ubisoft spent a fortune on putting this game out in tandem with Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, Disney, the usual suspects. This game underperformed drastically. This game had Wall Street analysts within a week or so of its release radically lowering the sales projections for Ubisoft for this game. I mean, I'm talking we expected 8 million units sold by the end of Ubisoft's fiscal year, March 31st, 2025, to now we only think they might sell, if we're lucky, 5 million units. That's huge, especially when you're talking about a video game like this that probably cost Ubisoft in the neighborhood of $300 million.
Ooh.
Yeah. People don't understand AAA games out there cost as much or more than a lot of major Hollywood films. And sometimes twice as much, 3 times as much. Okay. You're talking about $200 million for The Joker 2. Sony just shut down a game after 10 days that they spent 8 years and nearly $500 million to make. And they refunded everybody's money who bought it. That's how bad that was. So what does this have to do with Assassin's Creed and everything else? Ubisoft was already in deep, deep trouble. Ubisoft has had a string of bad releases in the last year. They have had so many games go sideways. Their internal culture The employee culture has arguably been collapsing now for some time. At least if you listen to some of the employees. The management obviously does not have control of this company. This was once one of the belle of the balls. I mean, this was Ubisoft. Assassin's Creed has been a huge, huge enterprise for them. It is their, as Stuttering Craig from Side Scrollers put it in the video last night, Assassin's Creed is the Super Mario Brothers for Ubisoft. It's the Link and Legend of Zelda for Ubisoft. There's no reason these games should fail. But for the fact that maybe you hired the wrong people for whatever reason to make your video game that don't do a good job. Star Wars has been failing in the same regard for the last several years, right? We got the peak like we talked about. We had the return of Luke Skywalker end of 2020, and ever since then, what's it been doing, Michelle?
Not much. It's just been going down, down, down. And then you got the Acolyte.
Downhill. Right. You got the Acolyte was the last straw. Look at the popularity of Star Wars, okay? Mm-hmm. Right now, Ubisoft is suffering from Star Wars Outlaws. They're on the edge of a cliff. They're about to get pushed over. The only thing that could save them was Assassin's Creed Shadows, the new game. Their big game coming out in 45 days. And guess what? Well, they've now officially delayed it to February 2025.
Yep.
Ubisoft, when the stock market opens in Paris at 3 a.m, if people thought $11.50 a share was bad, because it was actually over $80 a share just 4 years ago, you best hold on to your butts, because we're in for a wild ride, and it's going to suck. It's going to be bad. Let me tell you all what happened. Yesterday, after the abysmal failure of Star Wars Outlaws, because Disney Star Wars has failed. You got to realize they didn't just make Star Wars Outlaws in the last year. They've been working on that game for years, plural, right? I mean, these game developments take a very, very long time, 2, 3, 4 years. Imagine when they were making or starting to develop this game, Outlaws, when Star Wars and Mando and Grogu still had some popularity, and they were coming off successes like Battlefront 2, real popular Star Wars game. By the time this game is releasing, not only did they make a character that nobody liked with Kay Vess, but the game was also a mess. And Star Wars as a franchise had pretty much collapsed to nowhere near the popularity it used to be. So yesterday we showed stories where Ubisoft had come out and announced that, number one, when it came to Assassin's Creed, after we already knew Outlaws was bad, but we didn't have confirmation from Ubisoft yet how bad it was. They announced that Assassin's Creed Shadows, which was set to have a major premiere event at the Tokyo Game Show in just a couple of weeks, they pulled out of the Tokyo Game Show, the Super Bowl of video games in Japan, as Craig puts it. Then, about an hour later, another insider leak broke that Ubisoft had canceled all worldwide press events for this game. At that point, we knew something was really, really wrong. Craig and I did a video last night from Side Scrollers, and I said, this game is, the next thing is delay. It's going to be, I mean, this game comes out in 45 days. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. I mean, this is the next logical step. It's just a question of when. Steph, I mean, I know, Michelle, you're not a gamer. I'm not really a huge gamer either. But Steph, I know you game. I mean, you check out some, right? You play some. You're on Geeks and Gamers.
She helps the geeks and gamers.
Okay, it was just Tugs. I wish Tugs could have stuck around for this one, but this is going to be, we're going to cover this more in depth. But I wanted to get to the point. This is why, believe it or not, yes, the failures of Star Wars have basically played a significant role in leading to this for Ubisoft.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, if they had actually gotten a hit with Star Wars Outlaws, if Star Wars had still been a successful, commercially viable franchise, and if they had just put Han Solo as the lead character instead of a cheap female knockoff of Han Solo, which is exactly what they did, the game might have sold better. The audience might have reacted to it better, and they might have been able to weather a storm like this catastrophe that's in front of us. But they didn't. They were all, this delay for Assassin's Creed is the straw that broke the camel's back. And I'm going to tell you now, that October 30th earnings call for Ubisoft, I will be more shocked if during that call they don't announce a new proposal to shareholders that a private equity firm is making an offer to take them off the public trading block. I think that's going to be coming, and there are already investors in Ubisoft right now that are calling for that to happen. I'll have a lot more details on the video in the morning, but this is just bonkers. It's a mess.
Well, you're absolutely right. They don't have parks to sort of supplement all of the money that they're losing, right? Like Disney does. Disney could afford to do experimental movies, do pandering movies, and lose money with those movies because they are making up for it or supplementing the money with their theme parks and ESPN and all that stuff. But these, I think that like with gaming, you can't really afford to do that. You really can't. The gaming community will dunk on you as soon as you even try. And they have been doing that. And they've been rejecting all of these AAA games that have been pushing a lot of, political messaging and ideology and all of that stuff, all of these woke identity politics ideals. And they've been rejecting it. And they've been actually supporting like really smaller indie gamers who like really focus on just making an entertaining game, making it something entertaining. Gamers just want to put it on and shoot things. All of this other stuff, they're not really focusing on that or on entertaining gamers or making a good quality game. They're just like, okay, how can we push whatever? We need a female character, a strong female character to lead whatever, in this. I haven't really watched a lot of Star Wars Outlaws gameplay at all, really. But I've seen all of the stories, out there about, that, about all of the infiltration within the gaming space, right? Gamers don't really care about that, and they won't support it, and they haven't been supporting it, right? And what happens when it's not being supported? Instead of saying, okay, well, we hear you because you are our customers, we rely on you to buy this product. It's the same spiel as with the movie industry that's been happening for so long. Oh, well, obviously the gamers are rejecting it because the gaming space is just a very toxic gaming space. It's incredibly toxic. Let's just alienate all of them, call them names, and let's focus on something on this invisible audience that we think are going to buy the game. And hope that they show up. It's an invisible audience that they're doing. But the problem is that gaming industries, they can't afford to do that. There's nothing that will supplement all the money that they're losing. They can't afford to do it.
Most Hollywood studios can't supplement that kind of behavior, right?
No.
I mean, we talk about that all the time. Disney is they're kind of unique. They're a bit of a unicorn because Paramount, Warner Brothers, they don't have big theme parks. They don't have those cash machines out there. Universal Comcast is the closest thing we have to Disney, but again, it's a different animal because Comcast, their main line of revenue is neither movie studios, television, or theme parks, and they have all three of them. Their main line is broadband, internet, cell phones, and cable subscriptions. So it's hard to compare one to the other, but when you look at, like I said, Ubisoft or anybody else, unless you're somebody like a Blizzard, right, which Microsoft spent $70 billion to acquire. And look at the mess that Blizzard's in, right? $70 billion, 70. That's as much as Disney spent to buy Fox a few years before. And Ubisoft right now, their market capitalization based on their stock price before Paris opens at 3 a.m. and the bloodbath starts, is about 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion compared to 70 billion that Microsoft spent for Blizzard, Activision Blizzard. It's the scale here is massive, but this is if you're a Blizzard and you screw up at this point, Microsoft can step in and, it's okay, honey. We'll make everything okay. Don't worry. Ubisoft is just dead. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.